Here now with Blake Gendebien, who is a candidate for New York District 21 congressional seat. Blake, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
No problem, Sam. It's great to be here.
So, Blake, first and foremost, first question right off the bat, why run for this district congressional position?
Well, I'm very excited to be running for upstate New York and the North Country. Born and raised here in Lisbon, New York, on a dairy farm. My wife and I are still farming. We milk 500 cows, farm 1,200 acres. Been very active in my community for a long time. This is my home. This district is where I grew up. Yes, it's large, but it is my home. And I have been on the Lisbon Central School Board, president of the Lisbon Central School Board. I've coached JV basketball, been the varsity basketball assistant coach, and I represented farmers all through Northern New York and New England as the vice chairman of Agrimark, our $1 billion dairy cooperative that has the flagship brand Cabot cheese. And I'm very proud of the hard work we've done to represent farmers. Also, my wife and I run a foundation that supports children suffering from pediatric cancer. And it's all of these things that have shown me just how awesome the district is. I love the North Country in Northern New York, but it also shows me that Washington and Albany have forgotten us. Nobody does enough work for us up here. And I want to be a voice for freedom and fairness and honesty and hard work for my friends and neighbors and really make life less expensive for everyone. I want to focus on securing the border, but also making it easier and streamlining the legal process so that we as farmers have the help that we need and that we have a secure labor force for healthcare and for hospitality and construction and agriculture and food processing. I want to take care of hardworking families and make sure that we don't compromise their health care so that people who don't need tax breaks get tax breaks. It's unacceptable. Also, almost 50% of this district is over 65. We have so many veterans and seniors here who've worked a lifetime. We need to make sure that their benefits are not compromised and that they have access to health care close by. It's unacceptable that they have to drive an hour or two to get health care. So these are the things that people really care about in the district. And we need a farmer in DC to fight for these things and to fight for small businesses and agriculture. Agriculture is the #1 industry in this district.
I wanted to get to that actually. Just how do you feel like your background as a dairy farmer in the North Country suits you for this congressional seat?
Exactly. Like I said, agriculture is the #1 industry here. Dairy is the #1 segment, offering $1 billion a year of economic impact to this district. And as a industry leader for many, many years, I'm a familiar face to people in agriculture. And because of my service to the district as a coach and a school board member and through our foundation, we're a familiar face and a trusted face. And that's what we need in the North Country. We need somebody that is going to work hard to drive down cost, to secure our border and streamline the legal process so that we have the secure labor force that we need for agriculture and healthcare and hospitality and construction, forestry. We need somebody that's going to fight for our healthcare for hardworking families. And we need somebody that's going to support small business, support our farmers, and support our veterans and our seniors.
And you kind of touched on before that, your experience on the Lisbon School District, the Board of Education. Critics would point perhaps to maybe your lack of experience in electable positions, maybe not in the state legislature, et cetera. Another Democrat candidate, for example, Dylan Hewitt, was a former White House trade official in the Biden administration. What's your response to those critiques?
Absolutely. My advantage is that I have been elected to the school board, and vice chairman of Agrimark is an elected position in a bipartisan fashion. I'm not here to represent one side or the other. I'm here to represent everybody. I don't live in a vacuum. In Lisbon, where I'm from, when somebody goes off the road, which they do often on the 5 Mile Line Road, which my farm is on both sides of, I don't ask them what their party affiliation is before I hook up a chain and pull their car out. We help each other. And that's what people are dying for in this district. Instead of pointing out what we can't do, I like to point out what we can do. Farmers are problem solvers, not problem finders. And I'm here to solve problems for everybody.
And given that this seat has been red for the last 10 years with Elise Stefanik, you're running as a Democrat, how do you feel like you are able to, why should voters believe that you have the best shot to turn this seat blue?
Because Washington is broken. Washington and Albany have failed us. It's time that we had somebody from the district who really understands what it's like. Listen, if you want to talk about driving down cost at the grocery store, how about we send a farmer to Congress? If you want to talk about meaningful changes and reforms to immigration, securing the border, deporting criminals, making sure that we streamline the legal process with dignity. As a farmer, we've been operating in a broken immigration system for 50 years. How about you send a farmer to Congress to work on it? If you want to talk about supporting our seniors, supporting our veterans, and supporting our hardworking families, how about you send a farmer to Congress to work on that? How about finally we send somebody who's born and raised in the district, raised a family in the district, is a small business owner in the district, and been a leader in the largest industry in the North Country to DC. These aren't divisive issues. Taking care of hardworking families, lowering costs of utilities and food and insurance, making sure that we care for our veterans and seniors, and fixing immigration, those are not divisive issues. Those are issues that we all need help with. And I want to provide that help. And nobody knows this place like I do. From the St. Lawrence River, through the Akwesasne Mohawk tribe, over to Lake Champlain, down to the Hudson Valley with Lake George, through the Mohawk Valley. The first shovelful of the Erie Canal was in Rome in our district, up to Fort Drum, the greatest Army post in the nation with the 10th Mountain Division, and we have the Adirondack Park. This is a national treasure, and it needs to be treated like that. It should not be a political stepping stone for somebody. I promise I will not move my 500 cows and my 1,200 acres and buy a house and shove them in there in DC. I am a North Country guy, and I'm going to represent the North Country to the best of my ability.
If you were in Congress at the time that they mandated the White House to release the Epstein files, where would your vote have stood?
I would have fought like heck to release the Epstein files.
And another issue recently, Congress voting to reopen the government after the government shutdown, the longest one in history. Where would your vote have stood when it came to potentially reopening the government or keeping it closed?
The North Country has a tremendous amount of federal employees. We have 22,000 people working at Fort Drum. Remember, I mentioned over 50%, nearly 50% of the district is over 65 with federal benefits. We also have a tremendous amount of employees working on the border. We cannot forget that we have many people on SNAP benefits. 42,000 families are on SNAP benefits. We have many families whose income threshold is low enough that they don't pay a Affordable Care Act premium at all. So to them, all they saw was their SNAP benefits were going to be taken away. And another thing that we need to keep in mind is that HEAP benefits are a federal benefit, and cold air was about to start coming down, and the administration of HEAP benefits was going to be compromised. We were in a bit of a problem here in this district, and I don't think government shutdowns are a good way to negotiate policy. People get hurt. The people that need our help the most get hurt. I think that it's worthwhile to fight for the Affordable Care Act premium, and it's an important piece of our district, but it was a complicated issue because so many people here in the North Country rely on federal programs.
And most recent, very recently, President Trump was, accused of some by, threatening Democrats after, using, basically accusing people of, quote, seditious behavior punishable by death. I'm curious what your thoughts were on that situation. Have you been following that development?
Words matter. With a group of people encouraging our military to follow the law and not do anything illegal, you should not be threatened to be hung if you're encouraging people to follow the law.
Blake Gendebien, really appreciate your time. Yeah, before we conclude, anything else that you want to get out there, and maybe a final message you have for voters in near District 21?
No, thank you, Sam. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.